Welcome to the Morning Ramble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Matt.
I'm Eric.
And today we've got a couple topics for you. One of them is going to be a little bit longer scale. It's just going to kind of be a response to a post that I saw on a page. We'll get to it a little bit later. But the first topic we have today, Guy Fieri.
It's a great topic.
How do you feel about Guy Fieri?
I love the man.
Do you?
He's my hero.
I think he's been memeified.
Just a little bit.
Maybe for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just read this Guy Fieri appreciation post to you.
All right.
This is from Clapolo. It's a good name. Guy Fieri's flagship show is all about him going to underappreciated family-owned restaurants, praising their work, and bringing them nationwide positive attention and business. He openly supports LGBT people, his sister, and frequently has gay chefs on his grocery games competition, including ones revolving around relationships and family. I think that's important. He donates all of the non-perishable food from grocery games to food banks and advocates for fighting hunger. He goes to parts of the country where national disasters have hit and hosts big events where he cooks for it and feeds the victims. He has a legitimately funny sense of humor on his shows, arguable, and is generally said to be a really nice person. He loves his son and has done the whole television specials about taking him along on trips and having once-in-a-lifetime experiences together. He might look goofy, but that man does things that nourish the soul, and you can't put frosted spikes on that.
So who wrote this?
Clapolo
It was just like a
is
positive...
the number one Guy Fieri fan.
Okay, I was going to say, because it's just like a Guy Fieri fan page or something. I mean, not being real, I mean, the guy's cool. I mean, he was on this one podcast I like watching, Hot Ones.
I watched that.
Yeah.
And suddenly my appreciation for Guy Fieri went through the roof.
My favorite story was when he was talking about how those bowling shirts he wears, how they came to be. Because in the video, because he's known to always wear those shirts, and people have made fun of him for it. But he was talking about how one of the first shows he did for DDD or whatever, they just said he came in with a very casual shirt, and they're like, "Is that what you're wearing?" And they're like, "No, we got to get you something else." So someone just grabbed a shirt out of the wardrobe there at the studio, and it happened to be that type of shirt, and he's worn it ever since. So.
I've truly come around on it. Now I used to watch Triple D all the time.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of like, this guy he's on the show. He's a very, very animated guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an act. It is sort of an act.
It's an act. Make it entertaining.
Yeah, he is an animated guy, but he's not as overly animated as he is in those shows.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just totally his personality. I thought that he'd walk into a family reunion and be like, "We're here at my mom's house." And today, I thought that was just him.
Yeah.
But now that I know more about Guy Fieri, I've come to appreciate the man more.
I just like him. He's a really good cook. He makes awesome food.
How do you know? You haven't eaten any of his food.
Oh, I have.
Oh.
No, I haven't. It looks really good.
Yeah.
And I'm basing it on appearance, because that's what we do in life. We base things off appearance.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was our Guy Fieri appreciation. Yep. Now let's move on to something less happy. I'm going to read through these oh, wait, no. I've got to send you a picture of my satanic pie.
Okay.
I drew a pentagram into a pie.
It's a devil's pie.
I was trying to summon a pie demon.
It's the devil's food.
I'm going the wrong way. This is a very well thought out and ready podcast.
Mm-hmm. That's what we do here. Preparation.
Okay, this is a post from Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, otherwise known as PLOT. 12 things to do instead of calling the cops. We're going to go through these one at a time.
But is there some context before we go through this? 12 things to do before calling the cops. Is this in a criminal situation? Or?
It'll go over many situations.
Okay, great. I'm excited.
We're going to go through them one at a time, and we're going to react to them.
Okay.
Number 1, don't feel obligated to defend property. especially corporate private property. Before confronting someone or contacting the police, ask yourself if anyone is being hurt or endangered by property theft or damage. If the answer is no, then let it be.
No.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because in a later post here,
Yeah.
like later in these, it directly contradicts this.
Okay. So, well, before we go to theirs, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, that's stupid. Because if I see someone, like, throwing something through, like, a store window and it's closed, I'm calling the cops.
Yeah.
If someone's breaking an entry, like...
I think that they were thinking,
Like, are they...
like, if you see somebody stealing something from a store, in which case I'd probably just... I guess it depends on what it is.
Depends on the store. It depends what it is. And, you know, I mean, if I see a kid, like, walking around the store and he steals, like, if I see him maybe grab a candy bar and continue walking and he puts it in his pocket, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm probably not going to say anything because I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, also sometimes kids' minds work differently. They're like, they're probably not thinking, oh, I'm going to take this and it's going to be mine now. They're like, oh, what can I do to carry this candy bar?
True.
This is the only storage option I have.
Yeah. Now, like, if I see someone walking around in, like, electronics store, like, I don't know, like Best Buy or, like, Walmart, and they grab something of value, and I can see them put it in their pocket, and they're old enough to know what that means, I'm probably going to find a clerk, which in Walmart is impossible, and let them know.
Right. There's either too many or not enough.
Nope.
It's really weird.
And they don't know anything.
If something of yours is stolen, this is number 2.
Okay.
And you need to file a report for insurance or other purposes, consider going to the police station instead of bringing cops into your community.
Why?
You may inadvertently be putting someone in your neighborhood at risk. I mean, to be honest, my first reaction when something is stolen is not to call the cops and be like, this is the scene of the crime. Mm-hmm. Most likely I will be going to the police station, but I do think that it's kind of silly to be like, no, listen, if you call in the police, you could be putting your neighbors in danger. It's like, I get that police brutality happens. I get that. If the police are coming, especially to a neighborhood like ours, they're not going to be looking around like, who are these shady people?
Yeah.
That one's kind of on the fence for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying not to just go directly against everything here. Like, I know there was a story, forgive me ahead of time for not knowing the name of the victim or the city. I'm not sure, but I know that there was a story about a cop was called into, like, a suburban neighborhood, and it was reported that someone was breaking into cars, and, like, the police showed up and, like, they stormed this person's backyard, and I guess this kid was walking around in his backyard, and I guess it was him breaking into the cars, and, like, the police were like, get down or whatever like that, and he didn't, and he had his phone in his hand, and they shot him because he thought that he had a gun, and he didn't, because it was dark out, and I mean, that's just unacceptable. So I'm trying to, you know, I understand that, but at the same time, I mean, if, like, let's say you're home and someone broke in your house and you catch them and they break out and they start bailing, you know what I mean? I'm calling the police because who knows what else that person's done.
Right.
You know, what if they just broke in the house and hurt someone, your neighbor, you know? I mean, you can't.
I feel like I feel like a lot of the time these people here are trying to help people.
Yeah.
But they're putting blanket statements on things where there really shouldn't be blanket statements.
Yeah, you can't have the mentality of, like, cops are bad. What can I do in all of
keep them out of my neighborhood?
Yeah, that's a horrible thought.
Number 3. Okay. This one has that one new comment thing in front of it. I apologize for that. If you observe someone exhibiting behavior that seems odd to you, don't assume that they are publicly intoxicated. They could have a traumatic brain injury or similar... Got to switch the page. Medical condition. Ask if they are okay, if they have a medical condition, and if they need assistance. Bad idea. Do not walk up to somebody who is exhibiting strange... If you think it's strange to you, don't just walk up to somebody like that. That is a dangerous situation to put yourself in. Does that mean calling the cops? Yeah. I don't know. But oftentimes, if you call the police or if you call 911 and you say somebody is
acting
strangely, they won't just have cops on hand. They will also have medical personnel on hand
who know what to do,
who
in
are
those
trained for
situations,
things like this.
Yeah, I think it also depends on what this. If someone's visibly drunk, and they're drunk. I mean, see, I'm the kind of person. It's not that I don't like confrontation. It's just like if I don't need to engage, why would I? So if I see someone who's not hurting anyone and they're just kind of drunk on a bench, I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
I mean, if someone's assaulting someone, then I'm going to do something. But you're right. If someone's acting very odd and doing some very strange things, I'm not going to approach them and be like, because what if they just turn violent all of a sudden? You don't know what's going on with people. But no, definitely side with the first responders first. You shouldn't be taking anything into your own hands.
Right. Number 4. If you see someone pulled over with car trouble, this is funny because I ran out of gas today.
Yeah.
Stop and ask if they need help or if you can call a tow truck for them. If the police are introduced to such a situation, they may give punishments and unnecessary tickets to people with car issues. Target those without papers or worse.
Wait a minute. Who calls police if someone is changing a tire?
No one.
No one does that. I mean,
honestly, I've seen police pull up to cars that are obviously having,
and they've helped them. I've seen that before,
and they've helped them.
I saw a police driver change a tire. Yeah, I mean, you were with me. We were driving home, and I got a flat tire. And as I was changing the tire, a gentleman stopped. He didn't get out of this car. He just stuck his head out. I said, "Hey, do you got everything you need?" And I said, "Hey, I do. Thank you for stopping." And that was it.
Yeah, that happened to me today. Yeah. A lady in a truck just opened the door, and she's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've got somebody coming with gas.
Yeah.
Don't look at my shame."
I've run out of gas in a parking lot before.
That was my first time ever.
Yeah.
First time ever running out of gas.
Yeah, I didn't know my light didn't work.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't stop for people. When I see, what I basically do is I have a two rule thing. Like if I see someone that's on the side of the road, if they look like they're doing something, or if it's a guy who's already at the tire, bent down, doing something, I'm not going to stop because most likely he has everything he needs.
Right.
If I see someone though looking frantically and calling on their phone and looking through, I'll probably stop. You know, and I get that. I mean, maybe it could be a way of trying to rob someone.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, if it's in the middle of the night, I'm in a shady area,
yeah,
I'm not gonna stop for somebody.
Yeah, it could get dangerous. I mean, it's possible that I might, if I see someone, even if it's just an act, frantically looking, I might roll down my window, be like, "Hey, do you got everything you need? Is someone coming for But
yeah, the fact that they're they might target those without papers. What papers are we talking about? License, registration? I'm sorry, I have no pity for somebody who's driving without a license.
Yeah. Or just any basic car information. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is if you left your license at home or something like that, the cop can look it up.
Yeah.
And generally they'll be really cool with it. Mm-hmm. I've once left a registration out of the car accidentally.
Yeah.
And the cop was just like, "Yeah, that's all right. I'll just look it up."
Yeah, Andrea couldn't find hers the one time, and because I had it in the glove box, but it was kind of hidden, and the guy just looked it up, and it was fine.
So. Also, I'm not gonna lie. This is basically gonna be kind of us defending cops here.
I'm probably always gonna side with that. So
yeah, some cops are dicks. I know, but I've been pulled over a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Sometimes for really, really good reason. And most of the cops I've dealt with are very amiable. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to do their job.
Yep.
And they're good people. Okay, number 5. Keep a contact list of community resources, like suicide hotlines. When police are contacted to manage, and that is in quotations, such situations, people with mental illness are 16 times more likely to be killed by cops than those without mental health challenges. Note some suicide hotlines call police and heavily rely on law enforcement. Check local hotlines to make sure you know about their protocols.
That's very misleading, and I'll tell you why. Oh, well, you're done there?
Yeah.
Okay. It's very misleading because what was it, 16% of
16
people.
times.
Okay, well, there's a reason for that. Because if somebody, like, if someone's being approached by a cop, and the cop, and then they decide to attack them, most likely cops are going to use force to stop them, and in turn, it will be fatal. Most likely those people are not sane, They're not completely healthy in their head. So I think it's very misleading because they're pretty much saying, oh, they're acting weird, so cops just shoot them. You know what I mean? Like it's very misleading.
And not to say that doesn't sometimes happen, because we know it does, but the vast majority of these times it is something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen lots of stories online. Like one of them that just pops out in my head now is like 2 cops stopped their car on the side of the road because someone called because a guy was acting very strange and they said he had a weapon. So on the video, the cops stopped, they pulled out their guns, and they're just like, "Sir, put down the weapon, get down on the ground." And then the guy was just kind of looking at him, and he's like, "Sir, put down the knife." He wouldn't listen, and then he just started full-blown sprint charging him with the knife, and the cop shot him, and a lot of people were like, oh, he could have disarmed him. And it's like, no. Why should a cop put his life in danger trying to disarm a man with a blade?
I feel like a lot of times...
And that guy obviously was not fully,
I feel like there. A lot of times our instincts are led by media, because every time we see, a badass cop just get... knife just comes at them, and then they just and then they put the guy in that. That's not how it works.
It's not a movie. This is not a movie. A knife can kill you very easily, and it's dangerous, and that's why cops use lethal force to stop people, and that's why they try to do everything necessary to, like, sir, put it down.
Right. So number 6. Check your impulse to call the police on someone you believe looks or is acting suspicious. Is their race, gender, ethnicity, class, or housing situation influencing your choices? Some calls can be death sentences for many people. Eric? I can just imagine your face the entire time I was reading that.
Yeah, so what are they saying? Like, before you call to report someone, stop and think.
It's basically check your privilege.
Check your privilege. I don't care if they're black, white, purple, or pink, female, male, or something in between. I mean, if it's something that I would dictate, to call the police for, which would have to be something pretty, out there, I'm gonna do it. I mean, I don't. It's not like, what do they think? It's like I'm looking at someone and it's just like, I don't know if it's a boy or girl. I'm gonna call the cops. Like,
yeah, and there are people who do that.
It's I'm not, you're right. I shouldn't completely, because there are some pretty strange people out there who might think that way, but I don't know.
This guy's black in my neighborhood. Yeah. Never. And yeah, that does happen.
Yeah.
But when they say it like that, it's like, if somebody's acting suspicious to me, it's like, are they looking through someone's window? Are they pacing in front of someone's house strangely?
Yeah.
Like, those are red flags for me.
Yeah.
If they're walking around at night, that's not weird for me.
No, it's not weird at all.
All right, number 7. Encourage teachers, coworkers, and organizers to avoid inviting police into classrooms, workplaces, and public spaces.
What?
Instead, create a culture of taking care of each other and not unwittingly putting people in harm's way. If you're part of a group that's holding a rally or other demonstration, don't get a permit or otherwise cooperate with the police. You have to get a permit to do a rally.
To do a rally. Protest.
If you're in a public place, if you're doing a rally at your house, you don't have to. Avoid inviting police into classrooms. I think that it's important to occasionally have, like, get to know the people who are.
Yeah, I think I don't like this attitude because, and again, I mean, I think we have to take the stance of defending police officers in this list because they're going at them so much. But like this mindset of like, don't invite them in your classroom. You're pretty much saying their presence automatically increases the danger to everyone, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's the opposite of what you should be doing. You don't want I don't want my my kids growing up to be afraid of police. I want them that if they think they're in trouble to see someone in uniform and automatically run to them because they know that that's the best option, So it's ridiculous.
Plus, if you're not afraid of police, you'll be more comfortable around police.
Which will then...
And many of these misunderstandings can be avoided.
By the way, by your attitude.
I think it's very important to know how to talk to police, because if a policeman pulls you over, or a policewoman, I apologize, a police officer, if they pull you over, rule number 1, don't get out of the car.
That's a huge rule, and people don't know that. I think a lot of people don't realize that, because I've seen so many different viral videos where people are getting out of the car like, I didn't do anything. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Hands on dash.
Just relax.
Yeah.
If you're relaxed, they'll relax.
It'll be over in a jiffy. Like, I don't know what.
Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
These are people who have to deal with dangerous people all the time. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, they probably are wary to go to your car. They might be just as afraid of you as you are of them.
Absolutely.
So, the idea of policemen and women, wow, I just keep doing that. Wanting to hold over the public with an iron fist and just kill a bunch of people. That's not a good image to have in your head.
You have to understand, police are just people, and they're getting out of their car, they're walking up to someone, maybe they were speeding, maybe they noticed that the registration, whatever. They're approaching that window, they don't know what's on the other side. Someone could have a gun pulled out already. I mean, they don't have x-ray vision. I saw this interview, I forget the celebrity, but he has like tattoos on his arms. He's a little bit bigger than me. He's like 6'6" and like almost like over 300 pounds. And he says every time he gets pulled over, because he concealed carries. He always has everything ready on his lap, and he has his hands on the steering wheel. And as soon as the police officer comes over, he's just like, there's my registration, my license. I do have a firearm. It's on my right-hand side. You know what I mean? He makes it very clear, just because, he is super intimidating. So I think it's good to have that awareness that people, cops can be intimidated too. And while they should be trained professionals, not everyone's perfect. And we've seen some pretty horrifying things come of it.
Right. On absolutely, on both sides of the badge.
Yes. Correct.
Number 8. If your neighbor is having a party and the noise is bothering you, go over and talk to them. Getting to know your neighbors with community events like block parties is a good way to make asking them to quiet down a little less uncomfortable, or find another neighbor who is willing to do so. I agree with this.
I agree. I was just about to say, this is the first point I agree with. I don't think I'd ever call the cops for something that is, noise, I guess, related. Because if they were being, if I went over and said, hey, can you turn it down? I mean, I don't live close enough to anyone where that would matter. But if that was the case, I think I would just start fighting fire with fire and start messing with them, and it's, I don't think I'd ever call the police on that situation. So.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I do agree.
That's if you live next to me.
Yeah. I've got more bass than you.
Yeah. Oh, I got way more things that will be louder than anything you have.
All right. Number 9.
Yeah.
And this one I'm interested in your opinion on.
Okay.
If you see someone peeing in public, just look away. Remember, for example, that many homeless people do not have reliable access to bathrooms.
Okay, I think this is more related to urban areas. I do not live in a city. So if I'm driving down the street and I notice a guy is peeing alongside of a tree, I don't care.
I don't care either.
If I'm walking into my job and someone's peeing on the store,
yeah. I mean,
am I going to call the cops?
No.
No. But I might go, dude. And that's all I would do. That's all I would do. And then walk in the store. I don't know.
I don't know. I was stuck on a road for a couple hours.
Yeah.
The other day in snow.
I think, yeah.
And I was like, oh man.
I think it depends on the I think it depends on the consistency. If you live somewhere, you work somewhere, and someone's just always like their bathroom is like your doorway. You know what I mean? Or like near you all the time. Then I think it becomes a nuisance. But I don't know.
I would probably just still come up to them after they're done, and I would just be like, dude,
come on.
Maybe
Find a McDonald's. Like
Maybe don't pee there.
I think that relates more to urban areas, not where we are. But yeah.
Yeah. I have a hard time with that one because it's like there's a fine line between like, public indecency and human need.
Well, let's talk about number 2. How do we feel about that?
That really does change the dynamic, doesn't it?
That changes this discussion completely.
Let's move on to number 10.
All right, sounds good.
Number 10. Hold and attend de-escalation, conflict resolution, first aid, volunteer medic, and self-defense workshops in your neighborhood, school, workplace, and community organization. When possible, donate to these initiatives so they remain recurring. I agree with that.
Yeah, but I also think that not only do I 100% believe in that, I think you should also take the next step and invite the police to assist. To
actually,
help out with
you know what? I kind of agree with you there,
Yeah.
because if you're at that point, like if you're doing volunteer medics and stuff like that, the community can only get tighter.
Yeah,
in that
and
situation.
also the police are gonna, be able to have a little bit more knowledge of like when does like self-defense and like helping someone end, and when does it call for force, or like to call the police like for assistance, like in any kind of like issue within your community.
See, that is a constructive thing that I like there.
Yeah,
that makes sense. It's community building, and it's building a relationship with the police.
Okay, this is getting better. I like it.
Number 11. Don't report graffiti and other street artists. If you see work that includes fascist, I don't even know if that's a word.
Fish sticks.
Or fascist is a word. It's fascistic. Okay. I got it.
Yep.
Or hate speech. Paint over it with friends.
No.
So not only are you being like, all right, I'm just not going to call the cops on that. Now you also have to do the crime. Completely disagree with that.
No, I don't care if you're writing "I love the world" on the side of a building, or if you're drawing the Nazi symbol, the the swastika. If you draw either one of them, I'm going to call the police and say someone's doing that.
But Eric, those Jesus Saves ones, they save so many lives.
Yeah, same thing though. If someone's "I love Jesus" on the side, I'm still calling you. No, stop. That's someone's property. You're not allowed to damage someone's property. People, do you know how hard it is to remove paint from concrete? Okay, it's very difficult. You have to get a power washer, and it's even then sometimes it doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Sandblast it. I don't know. It's very difficult.
And if you see a penis painted on the side of the building and your janitor decides, all right, well, I'm just going to paint over it, but it's still in the shape of a penis.
Yeah.
I don't know, just an example. I've never seen that before. Number 12. Remember that police can escalate domestic violence situations, especially those involving people of color. You can support friends and neighbors who are being victimized by abusers by offering them a place to stay, a ride to a safe location, or to watch their children. Utilize community resources like safe houses and hotlines.
I'm so opposite to this opinion, it's not even funny. Like, and this is very not progressive, by the way. This viewpoint right here. Like, if you can sense a neighbor, whether you live in an apartment building or, in your neighboring house, if you sense that there's some kind of domestic abuse, man, I would call the police really fast, And you're putting people in severe like harm's way by not doing that.
Yeah, generally,
even if it's just a thought, it's.
Yeah. Also, just to mention, these hotlines that they're talking about generally will just go right to the police.
They're just gonna go to the police anyway.
A lot of places don't have safe houses.
That's not a common thing. So
to watch their children, that's kind of weird.
It's called social services.
But quite seriously, domestic violence can very, very quickly turn into a murder.
Yeah.
It is already abuse. It can very, very quickly turn into a murder. Them saying that this can escalate it, and I can't fully disagree with that. It might.
Well, it's going to escalate it, absolutely.
If this, douchebag, whether it be male, female, or anything in between or outside,
male, but yeah.
Could very, very easily hear the cops come in and be like, all right, well, guess I might as well kill them. But the fact of the matter is, if it were to get to that point, just from them knowing that the cops are coming, it's gonna get to that point now, and they've got a much higher chance of surviving if there's someone else there to stop them.
Well, first of all, the word escalating, I mean, that's exactly what it's doing. You're escalating to, police. But also, too, I don't know what the laws are in each state. I'm not too familiar with domestic, violence and calls. But I do know a lot of places, if the police are called out for domestic abuse, the police automatically obtain that, like usually the male or whoever's, being accused of the abuse almost every single time until things are straightened out. That's like a law in a lot of places. So it's just for the safety of everyone. So I'm not going to shy away from calling the police if I hear
something else to add to that.
Yeah.
If you involve yourself in things like that, you very well could also escalate the situation. If the abuser finds out that the abused is talking to someone, that very, very quickly can escalate the situation as well. I'd rather the professionals take care of it.
Yeah.
I feel like the abused has a much better chance.
There's a lot of emotion
getting out of there.
There's a lot of emotion in those type of crimes, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'd rather them be in jail.
I agree.
And there's a little bit of a wrap up here. Calling the police often escalates situations, puts people at risk, and leads to violence. Anytime you seek help from the police, you're inviting them into your community and putting people who may already be vulnerable into dangerous situations. Sometimes people feel that calling the police is the only way to deal with problems, but we can build trusted networks of mutual aid that allow us to better resolve conflicts ourselves and more towards forms of transformative justice while keeping police away from our neighborhoods. The police are already in your neighborhoods. They're a part of your neighborhood.
Yeah. Breaking that down very simply, though, there is one line that they actually have correct in that. And that is, people resort to calling the police as an only option. That's so true. How many times do you hear funny stories about people calling the police because someone's not taking their coupon or because someone got their meal wrong at a McDonald's? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost a little bit insane because the people call the police for so many wrong reasons. So it's, but if it involves something that is causing damage to, personal property, I would say public property, or, hurting someone else or yourself, and someone putting in harm's way, those are definitely all the reasons why you should call the police. It's very simple. So.
No, I'm not saying that if you, as somebody who's dealt with things like this before, just going back to a few of them before about the suicide thing, if there's somebody standing on a bridge, then I think it's time to call the police.
Yeah. I would have no idea how to deal with that situation.
Or like on a building or something like that. They have more control over the environment than you do. But if you have a friend that is contacting you and they're right on the brink, that is a situation where I think that maybe instead of calling the police, try to talk them down yourself, because there could be minutes or seconds away from things like that.
I think the other component in what you just said between those two things is that, one, you have someone you have a personal relationship with. So if someone you have a personal relationship with actually does the effort of reaching out,
yes,
in that moment, that it's not like they've made up their mind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They are seeking help. They're seeking emotional connection. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on any of this here. So I agree with you there. But a stranger, like you said, like on top of a bridge or a balcony, or you know what I mean, or on a building, I have no idea how to deal with that. Yeah. I don't want to just be like, hey man, get down, it's okay, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Because then who knows what's going to trigger that person to make that decision. So I would call the police immediately, because it's like, what? Because because if they do jump and you didn't call the police, you're going to feel like you did it,
Right.
And if you call the police and they do as well, I mean, that's all you could have done, So those are two different scenarios, but I agree. Yeah, that's something that, something I don't have a lot of obviously experience with, but I agree with that. That's That's a tough situation.
Yeah. Take care of your friends, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of your friends.
Have friends.
If worse comes to worse, and you really feel like you should call the police for something, please call the police. If somebody gets your McNugget sauce wrong, don't call the police. That's not cool. They have a lot of stuff to deal with.
They'll get you the all you have to do is get the manager. If you complain enough to any manager, they're just going to give you what you want because they want you out of the store.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we've got this week.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us on the Morning Ramble, and we will see you next week.
That's right. See you next time.